The slap comes first. Naya's head whips sideways, champagne erupting from her glass in a spray that catches the Atlanta skyline behind her. June heat clings to the rooftop despite the breeze, thick and oppressive, carrying the hum of Peachtree Street traffic 20 stories below. The gala goes silent, not the polite kind of quiet, but the brutal kind, where every set of eyes locks onto one thing and refuses to look away. Madison Klein stands there, hands still raised, breathing hard like the violence took effort. Her wrist trembles slightly. Around them, the Buckhead charity event freezes mid-motion. Servers with trays suspended, donors with mouths open, cameras blinking red in the periphery. Then Madison leans in, close enough that Nia can smell her perfume, something floral and expensive that doesn't match the ugliness about to happen. Madison's lips curl and she spits. Not a quick, angry spit. Slow, deliberate, theatrical. It lands on Nia's throat just above her collarbone, sliding down toward the neckline of her simple black dress. The crowd recoils. Someone gasps. A woman near the bar turns away like she can't bear witness. But no one moves to help. No one says a word. Because Madison Klein has the right last name, the right connections, and in rooms like this, cruelty gets a pass if you're rich enough to afford it. Madison steps back, tilting her head like she's admiring her work. Her friends cluster behind her, perfectly styled hair, perfectly rehearsed smirks. One of them holds a phone at chest level, lens angled just right to look accidental. The red recording dot blinks steadily. They're not just humiliating Nia, they're documenting it. Madison's voice cuts through the silence, loud enough for the whole rooftop to hear. Maybe next time you'll remember your place. The words hang there, heavy with implication. The crowd shifts uncomfortably but stays quiet. This is Atlanta high society. Money talks, and everyone else learns to look the other way. Except Nia doesn't look away. She reaches up with 2 fingers, slow and controlled, and wipes the spit from her throat. No tears, no trembling, no explosion. She studies the moisture on her fingertips for a heartbeat, then lifts her eyes to meet Madison's. And she smiles. Not polite, not weak, not the smile that begs for mercy or asks for understanding. It's the smile of someone who just watched a trap snap shut exactly the way they planned it. Satisfied, almost grateful. Madison's smirk falters. Just for a second. Just long enough for doubt to flicker across her face before she buries it under bravado. But Nia sees it. Across the rooftop, past the crowd pretending not to stare, a man in a tailored charcoal suit shifts his weight. He doesn't approach. Doesn't make a scene. He simply lifts his phone once, a single deliberate motion, and lowers it again. The gesture is so small most people miss it entirely. But Nia catches the glint of metal on his hand as the phone rises. A ring, thick and unmistakable, shaped like a tiger's head with emerald eyes that catch the ambient light. The kind of ring that doesn't come from a jewelry store. It carries weight in certain circles, the sort that makes people vanish in cities like Atlanta when someone decides they've crossed the wrong line. The man's face stays neutral. No anger, no concern, just acknowledgement. Then he turns and walks toward the elevator, disappearing into the crowd like he was never there at all. Nia's smile deepens, just slightly. Madison doesn't notice. She's too busy soaking in the attention, her friends already replaying the footage on their phones, zooming in on the moment of impact. They're laughing now. Quiet, vicious laughter that sounds like celebration. One of them whispers something to Madison, and she throws her head back, triumphant. She thinks she won. She thinks this moment will define Nia, break her, turn her into a cautionary tale about knowing your place in a world that wasn't built for people who look like her. But Madison has no idea what she just started. She doesn't know that the woman standing in front of her, silent, composed, still smiling, grew up in a house where power wasn't loud. It was surgical. Where lessons were taught in quiet rooms with locked doors, and revenge was a language spoken in patience, not rage. She doesn't know that Nia Kumaloseo has a brother who once made a man disappear for far less than a slap and spit. A brother whose name people in certain parts of Atlanta whisper like a prayer or a curse, depending on which side of his favor they're standing. But Madison will learn. They all will. Because tonight, while champagne dries on her dress and humiliation burns in her chest, Nia isn't thinking about crying. She's thinking about receipts, evidence, witnesses, timing. She's thinking about how some people mistake silence for weakness, invisibility for powerlessness. And she's thinking about how satisfying it will be to teach Madison Klein the difference. While Madison celebrates with her friends, Replaying the clip like a trophy, Nia's already 3 steps ahead, planning, calculating, building the case that will end everything Madison thinks makes her untouchable. Please like the video and subscribe. I put a lot of effort into this video, and it hurts when people watch and don't subscribe. It means a lot to me. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. But what Madison didn't know was that the woman she just humiliated had a brother who once made a man disappear for far less. To understand why that smile mattered, you need to know who Nia really was, and how a girl from South Africa became untouchable in Georgia. Nia's condo smells like jasmine tea and leather, the kind of space that looks lived in but reveals nothing. 1 bedroom, modest furniture, a view of the Beltline through floor-to-ceiling windows that cost more than the lease suggests. Everything in this place is deliberate. Everything is camouflage. She sits at her desk, laptop screen casting blue light across her face. It's past midnight, but sleep isn't an option. Not tonight. The security footage from the gala plays on loop, frame by frame. Madison's hand mid-swing, the champagne glass tilting, the spit landing. Nia pauses the video at 47 seconds when Madison's eyes flick left, just for a second, toward her friend holding the phone. The angle is perfect. The lens captures everything. Nia takes a screenshot, adds a timestamp, saves it to an encrypted folder labeled Receipts. Her fingers move across the keyboard with mechanical precision, typing notes into a file only she can access. Witness names, camera angles, the exact moment Madison's performance shifted from rage to calculation. Every detail logged, every second accounted for. This is what Nia does. This is who she is. On paper, she's unremarkable. Operations director at a logistics company with warehouse contracts near Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. The kind of job that sounds impressive enough to justify a comfortable life, but boring enough that people stop asking questions after the first sentence. She attends meetings, signs off on shipments, solves problems that other managers can't. Competent, professional, forgettable. That's the point. Her gaze drifts to the framed photo on her desk. A small thing, barely noticeable unless you're looking for it. 5-year-old Nia stands between 2 men in front of a house she barely remembers. The taller man on the left is her biological father, face blurred by time and faded ink. The man on the right is sharper, more defined. So Daehyun, the Korean patriarch who would become the only father she'd ever really know. South Africa, 2001. The year everything changed. Daehyun adopted her, not out of charity, but strategy. She learned that later, when she was old enough to understand what words like obligation and alliance really meant. He brought her into his home in Seoul, raised her alongside his only biological son, Junho, and taught them both the same lessons. Loyalty is currency, fear is a tool, and power is safest when it doesn't announce itself. Nia wasn't treated like a guest or a charity case. She was treated like an equal, a second heir. The daughter Daehyun never had, and the sister Junho never asked for, but learned to respect. She closes the photo app on her phone and returns to the footage. 2018 rushes back in fragments. Daehyun's health scare, the decision to retire and move operations offshore, the quiet gathering where he placed Junho at the head of the table and told Nia her war would be fought differently. Junho will be the fist, he'd said, voice calm despite the oxygen tube in his nose. You will be the hand that moves it, quieter, cleaner, harder to see coming. At 21, Nia understood what he meant. Junho, 22 and already dangerous, would take the visible throne, handle enforcement, command respect through presence and threat. Nia would build the infrastructure that made violence unnecessary. Boardrooms instead of back alleys. Contracts instead of weapons. In 2019, she relocated to Atlanta, Georgia, alone, except for a single suitcase and a list of contacts Daehyun had spent decades cultivating. She started as an operations manager at a logistics company that needed someone who could solve problems others couldn't. Within 6 months, she was indispensable. Within 2 years, she was running the entire Southeast pipeline, shipping routes, warehousing, clean capital flowing through legitimate channels that even federal auditors couldn't trace back to anything actionable. She became the unseen spine, the fixer, the woman who turned dirty money into clean infrastructure, one invoice at a time. By 2024, the CEO family was closer to total legitimacy than it had ever been. Real estate holdings, import-export contracts, political donations that opened doors no amount of muscle could kick down. Nia built all of it while Junho played the visible monster, and it worked because no one suspected the quiet woman in the modest condo was the architect behind the empire. Until tonight. She clicks back to the footage and watches Madison again. This time, she focuses on the background. The friend holding the phone. The way Madison keeps glancing at it like she's checking to make sure everything's being captured. The performance wasn't spontaneous. It was staged. Nia rewinds 10 seconds and watches Madison's lips move before the slap. She's saying something to her friend. Nia can't make out the words, but the intent is clear. This was planned. The humiliation wasn't personal. It was professional. Someone commissioned this. Someone wanted Nia to react on camera, to snap, to scream, to confirm exactly who she was and who would come running to her defense. They wanted footage of Nia losing control, evidence that could be used to bait Junho into revealing himself publicly, or to build a legal case that federal investigators could weaponize. Madison was just the weapon. Someone else pulled the trigger. Nia's jaw tightens. She pauses the video at the moment right before the slap, Madison's eyes locked on hers, cold and focused, like an actress running through her lines. There's no real anger there, no genuine hatred, just duty. The gala was supposed to be Nia's soft launch into Atlanta high society. A clean face for the family's legitimate operations. A signal to the world that the Seals were done hiding in the shadows. 7 years of work, building toward one perfect night where power could finally wear a smile instead of a threat. And someone turned it into bait. Nia closes the laptop. The screen goes dark, and for a moment, the only light in the condo comes from the city beyond her window. Atlanta glittering below, indifferent to the war being fought in rooms it will never see. She's 29 now. Junho is 30. They're standing on the edge of everything Daehyun wanted for them. Legitimacy, safety, a future where their children won't have to live the way they did. But someone in Georgia knows the Seo family's secrets. Someone powerful enough to use Madison Klein as a pawn. And someone willing to risk everything to see if Nia is worth the protection she's always had. Nia opens her laptop again and starts a new file. This one isn't labeled receipts, it's labeled target list. Madison wanted Nia to react on camera, and someone powerful enough to know the Seo family's secrets was willing to pay for it. Within an hour, Nia's worst fear came true. Not the humiliation itself, but what came after it. The clip goes live at 11:47 p.m. By midnight, it has 12,000 views. Nia watches the counter tick upward from her desk, the glow of her laptop casting shadows across her face. The video has been edited professionally. The slap plays in slow motion, champagne droplets suspended in air like shattered glass. The spit is zoomed in, framed to look as degrading as possible. Text overlays the footage in bold white letters. When keeping it real goes wrong. The comments scroll faster than she can read them. She thought she was somebody laugh my ass out? That's what happens when you forget your place. Madison Klein is a queen for this. Nia's jaw tightens, but her hands stay steady. She opens a new spreadsheet and starts logging every account that shares the clip. Usernames, timestamps, engagement metrics, every piece of data that might matter later. She's not crying. She's not raging. She's building a case. By 1 a.m., the video has 40,000 views and a hashtag, Know Your Place. By 2 a.m., it's trending in Atlanta. Across town, in a Buckhead penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, Madison Klein raises a champagne flute. The glass catches the light from crystal chandeliers, refracting it across marble floors so white they look like ice. Her friends cluster around her phone, watching the clip for what must be the 100th time. Every replay brings fresh laughter, the kind that echoes off expensive surfaces and sounds like celebration. Rewind it, someone says. I want to see your face again. Madison obliges, dragging the video back to the moment right before the slap. Nia's expression, calm, almost curious, fills the screen. Then the impact. The head snap. The champagne spray. The room erupts in laughter. She really thought she could just walk into our world, Madison says, swirling her champagne like she's narrating a nature documentary. Like we wouldn't notice. Like we just let her. One of her friends, a blonde in a designer dress that costs more than most people's rent, leans closer to the phone. Did you see how quiet she went? Like she finally understood. Madison smiles. She understood exactly what I wanted her to understand. Another friend raises her glass to putting people in their place. The group echoes the toast, crystal clinking against crystal, champagne flowing like the night will never end. They don't look guilty. They don't look concerned, they look triumphant. Look triumphant, like they just won something worth celebrating. Madison replays the clip again and again. Each time, the laughter gets louder. Back in Naya's condo, the silence is absolute. No music, no television, just the hum of the laptop fan and the occasional click of her keyboard. The beltline beyond her window is empty now, the city winding down while Nia's night is just beginning. She's tracking the video's spread like an epidemiologist mapping a virus. Every share leads to another network. Every comment reveals another angle. Madison's friends have seeded the narrative carefully, framing Nia as entitled, out of place, deserving of what happened. They're not just sharing a video, they're crafting a story, and they're doing it fast, trying to lock public opinion before Nia can respond. But responding is exactly what they want. They want Nia to explode, to post an angry rebuttal, to cry on camera or threaten legal action, or do anything that confirms the stereotype they've already painted her into. They want the angry black woman headline. They want proof that she doesn't belong in their world. Nia closes the social media tabs and opens her encrypted files instead. She spent 7 years learning how power works in America. It's not always loud. It's not always violent. Sometimes it's a phone call, a delayed shipment, a contract that mysteriously falls through. Sometimes power is knowing exactly which lever to pull to make someone's world tilt sideways without them ever seeing your hand on the mechanism. She picks up her phone and dials a number she hasn't used in months. It rings twice before a man answers, voice thick with sleep. "Do you know what time it is?" "I need a favor," Nia says. There's a pause. Then, "What kind of favor?" "You're still managing the Savannah warehouse?" "Yeah." "Why?" Nia glances at her notes. Madison's cousin runs a boutique import company that depends on regular shipments from overseas. The kind of business that looks impressive on Instagram but operates on razor-thin margins. One delayed shipment could cause a cascade of missed deadlines, canceled orders, furious clients. "There's a container scheduled for inspection tomorrow morning," Nia says. "Hold it." "For how long?" "Until I say otherwise." Another pause. Longer this time. "This is going to cost someone a lot of money." "I know." "Nia, you owe me," she says, voice calm but unyielding. "Remember the audit in March? The one that would have cost you your job? I made that disappear. Now I'm collecting." Silence on the other end. Then a sigh. "What's the container number?" Nia rattles it off from memory. She's been preparing for this moment since the gala ended, mapping Madison's world, identifying weak points, building a strategy that doesn't require Junho's violence or his network. This is her machine, her leverage, her war, fought the way Dayan taught her, quietly, efficiently, and always 3 moves ahead. "It's done," the man says. Nia hangs up. By morning, Madison's cousin will wake up to frantic emails, shipments delayed, clients threatening to cancel, a business that was running smoothly yesterday, suddenly hemorrhaging money and credibility. And no one, not Madison, not her friends, not the people celebrating in that Buckhead penthouse, will connect it back to the woman they humiliated on a rooftop. Because Nia doesn't need her brother's ring or his reputation to destroy someone. She has her own tools. 7 years of connections, favors owed, and systems she's learned to manipulate without ever raising her voice. Most people, including Madison, have no idea she controls any of it. They think she's powerless. They think tonight broke her. They're wrong. But 3 days later, the real attack began, and it wasn't online. Someone wasn't just trying to humiliate Nia. They were trying to destroy the life she'd spent 7 years building. The email arrives at 9:14 a.m. on a Tuesday, 3 days after the gala. Nia is at her desk at the logistics company reviewing quarterly reports when her assistant knocks, 2 sharp raps that signal urgency. The woman's face is pale, professional mask slipping just enough to reveal panic underneath. "We have a problem," she says. "The problem is a compliance audit. Unscheduled. Comprehensive. The kind that requires every document from the last 18 months to be produced within 72 hours, or operations get frozen." The notice sits in Nia's inbox, stamped with federal seals and legal language dense enough to choke on. Nia reads it twice, searching for the trigger. Companies get audited, sure, but not like this. Not without warning. Not unless someone filed a complaint specific enough to justify immediate action. She scrolls to the signature line at the bottom of the audit request. The law firm's name makes her stomach drop, Castellan & Reed LLP, a mid-sized Atlanta firm that handles corporate compliance, white-collar defense, and years ago, before Daehyun retired, discrete matters for clients who needed problems to disappear quietly. This isn't random. This is targeted. By noon, the damage starts spreading. A key shipment to a distributor in Chattanooga gets flagged for additional verification, which is code for delayed indefinitely. Another client, a logistics partner responsible for 20% of Naya's quarterly revenue, sends a terse email. We're pausing our contract until this audit resolves. Nothing personal. Everything is personal. Nia closes her office door and pulls up Castellan and Reed's website. The partner list is public, professional headshots arranged in neat rows. She recognizes two names from the old days, lawyers who handled NDAs and shell company filings when the Seo family needed distance between their legitimate operations and everything else. Why would they come after her now? And who paid them to do it? Her phone buzzes. A new email, no subject line, sender unknown. She hesitates for half a second before opening it. The message contains no text, just a single image attachment. Naya clicks it open, and her chest tightens. It's a photo of her. Outside her condo, taken yesterday morning. She's wearing the same gray jacket she wore to work, holding her coffee cup, keys in hand. The angle suggests someone was standing across the street, maybe in a parked car, lens zoomed in close enough to capture the expression on her face. Distracted, unaware, vulnerable. The message is clear. We can reach you anytime. Naya closes the email and forces herself to breathe. Panic is useless. Panic gets people killed. She's been trained for this, taught by Daehyun that fear only wins if you let it make decisions for you. She screenshots the email, logs the metadata, and starts tracing. It takes her 4 hours and 3 phone calls to people who owe her favors. But Nia finally finds the thread. The audit request didn't originate from a federal agency. It came from a private complaint filed by Castellan and Reed on behalf of an anonymous client alleging irregularities in import documentation. Vague enough to sound legitimate, specific enough to trigger an investigation. The firm's billing records are harder to access, but Nia has spent 7 years building a network that includes paralegals, accountants, and administrative assistants who remember when she solved problems for them. One phone call to a former colleague at another law firm gets her a name. The partner who signed off on the audit complaint is the same lawyer who handled Seo Daehyun's corporate restructuring in 2017, right before he moved offshore. Which means whoever hired Castellan and Reed knows the Seo family's history, knows the old connections, knows enough to weaponize them. Naya pulls up the complaint filing again and reads the fine print. Buried in the third paragraph, almost hidden in legalese, is a reference to irregularities dating back to the subject's entry into the U.S. logistics sector in 2019. The year Nia moved to Atlanta, the year she started building the infrastructure that would make the Seo family legitimate. Whoever filed this complaint knows her timeline, knows when she arrived, knows what she built and how fragile it still is. But that's not the part that makes her hands shake. It's the footnote on page 4, a single line referencing documentation inconsistencies related to the subject's immigration and adoption status. South Africa, 2001. Nia's adoption, South Africa, the exact year. That information isn't public. It's not in any database a lawyer could access through normal channels. It's buried in family records, old documents kept in locked files that only a handful of people have ever seen. Which means the leak didn't come from outside the Seo orbit. It came from inside. Nia sits in her car in the parking garage, engine off, mind racing. She replays every conversation, every meeting, every moment since the gala, trying to identify who would have access to those records and a reason to use them. Not Junho. He gains nothing from her instability. His power depends on the infrastructure she's built. If she falls, the whole operation risks exposure. Not Daehyun. He's offshore, semi-retired, and even if his health is failing, he wouldn't sabotage his own legacy. That leaves one person, one figure in the Seo machine Nia has never fully trusted, the accountant consigliere, the quiet man who sits in windowless offices and controls the family's financial trails with the precision of a surgeon. He doesn't carry weapons because numbers are sharper. He doesn't make threats because spreadsheets do the talking. He's been with the family since before Naya was adopted, which means he has access to every document, every secret, every piece of leverage the Seos have ever accumulated. And he's the kind of man who benefits if Nia looks unstable, If Junho loses faith in her, if Daehyun questions whether she was worth the investment, if the family decides the American expansion is too risky and pulls back. Nia doesn't have proof yet, but she has pattern, motive, access. And she has the sinking realization that Madison Klein was never the real enemy. Madison was the distraction. The public humiliation was bait designed to see if Nia would break, if Junho would reveal himself, if the family's carefully constructed legitimacy would crack under pressure. Someone inside the CO orbit is testing her. And they're using Madison, Castellan, and Reed, and every tool at their disposal to see if Nia Kumalo CO is strong enough to survive what's coming. Someone Nia trusted is destroying her from the inside. Subscribe so you see who it is, because most people miss the signs until it's too late. Nia picks up her phone and types a message to Madison. We need to talk. Private. Just the two of us. If Madison is being used, she might not even know by whom. But she'll know enough, and Nia needs answers before the audit buries everything she's built. The response comes back within minutes. Ponce City Market. Thursday, 7 p.m. Come alone. Nia set a trap, a private meeting where Madison could either apologize or expose herself completely. What happened next shocked even Nia. The meeting was supposed to give Nia control. Instead, it revealed something far more dangerous. The restaurant is all glass and exposed brick, the kind of place where Atlanta's young professionals come to be seen. Ponce City Market glows beyond the windows, the old Sears building transformed into something sleek and aspirational. Nia chose this location deliberately, public enough for witnesses, intimate enough for a conversation that could go either way. She arrives 15 minutes early and takes a corner table with clear sightlines to the entrance. The server brings water. Nia doesn't touch it. Her hands rest flat on the table, steady and still, while her mind runs through every possible scenario. Madison might apologize. Unlikely but possible. Madison might escalate. More probable. Or Madison might reveal who's pulling her strings. That's what Nia's betting on. At exactly 7 p.m., the front door opens. Madison walks in first, heels clicking against polished concrete. She's dressed like she's attending a board meeting. Tailored blazer, designer bag, the armor of someone who's never had to question whether they belong. But she's not alone. Behind her, a young woman with a camera bag slung over one shoulder. Lifestyle blogger, maybe, or influencer, the type who documents every moment for content. Next to her, a man in his 40s wearing a suit too expensive for a casual dinner. Attorney, definitely. And trailing behind them, another woman holding her phone at chest level, screen glowing, red recording light already active. Nia's jaw tightens, but her expression stays neutral. Madison slides into the seat across from Nia without asking permission. Her entourage arranges themselves around the table like a security detail. The blogger sets up her phone on a discreet tripod. The attorney opens a leather folder. The friend angles her phone to capture Nia's face. I got your message? Madison says, voice bright and performative. You wanted to talk? Nia glances at the cameras, then back at Madison. I said private. Madison smiles. This is private. Just a few friends. You don't mind, do you? It's not a question. It's a dare. The server approaches, senses the tension, and retreats without taking orders. Madison leans forward, elbows on the table, posture radiating false concern. I wanted to give you a chance to explain yourself. Publicly humiliating me by making baseless accusations? That's not okay, Nia. I haven't accused you of anything, Nia says evenly. Not yet. Madison's smile sharpens. But I know how people like you operate. You think because you've climbed a little higher than you started, you can throw around threats. So I brought witnesses. Protection. You understand? People like you. The phrase hangs in the air, loaded with everything Madison doesn't need to say out loud. Nia watches her carefully. Madison's eyes keep flicking toward the attorney, like she's checking for approval or waiting for a signal. This isn't anger. This isn't even cruelty for its own sake. Madison is performing, following a script. I invited you here to understand why, Nia says quietly. The gala, the video, the way you planned it. Madison laughs, sharp, dismissive. Planned it? Sweetheart, you walked into my world acting like you belonged. I just reminded you where you actually stand. The blogger adjusts her camera angle. The friend with the phone zooms in slightly. They're waiting for something. A reaction. An outburst. Proof of whatever narrative they're building. You kept looking at the camera, Nia continues. Every few seconds, making sure everything was being recorded. That's not spontaneous. That's choreographed. Madison's smile doesn't falter, but something shifts in her eyes, a flash of uncertainty quickly buried. You're paranoid. Am I? Nia tilts her head. Or are you just bad at hiding when you're nervous? The attorney clears his throat. Miss Klein doesn't have to answer your questions. We're here to offer you an opportunity to apologize for any defamatory statements you might be considering. Nia ignores him. She keeps her focus on Madison, searching for cracks. Who asked you to do it? Who's paying you? Madison's mask slips. Just for a second, her composure fractures, and something like fear flashes across her face. Then she recovers, leaning back in her chair with exaggerated nonchalance. Nobody pays me to do anything, Madison says. I don't need to be paid to put entitled nobodies in their place. Entitled nobodies, Nia repeats softly. Is that what your script says to call me? Madison's jaw tightens. You think you're special because someone adopted you? You think that makes you one of us? And there it is, the word Madison shouldn't know to weaponize. Adopted. Nia's pulse quickens, but her face stays still. Madison leans forward again, voice dropping to something crueler, more intimate. You're an adopted nobody, Nia. South Africa, 5 years old. He bought you like a souvenir and brought you here thinking you could be something you're not. The table goes silent. Even the blogger looks uncomfortable. Nia stares at Madison, and for the first time tonight, she sees the truth clearly. Madison isn't enjoying this. Her hands are trembling slightly. Her breathing is shallow. She's afraid, not of Nia, but of whoever gave her these details and told her to use them. Who told you that? Nia asks, voice barely above a whisper. Madison blinks, opens her mouth, closes it again. The attorney intervenes. This meeting is over. Miss Klein has nothing further to say. They stand in unison. Madison, the attorney, the entourage. The blogger packs up her equipment. The friend stops recording. Madison throws one last look at Nia, and in that glance, Nia sees something she didn't expect. Pity. Like Madison knows something terrible is coming, and she's just relieved it's not aimed at her. They leave without another word. Nia sits alone at the table for 10 minutes, staring at the empty chair across from her, replaying every sentence, every gesture, every tell. Madison wasn't the mastermind. She was the messenger. And whoever sent her knows details about Nia's past that only a handful of people in the world have access to. Nia gets home just after 9 p.m. The hallway outside her condo is empty, silent, except for the hum of the building's ventilation system. She unlocks her door, steps inside, and freezes. There's an envelope on the floor. Plain, white, unsealed. It wasn't there when she left. She locks the door behind her, crouches down, and picks it up carefully. No address. No postage. Hand-delivered. Inside, photocopied documents, legal papers in 2 languages, Korean and English. The header reads, Adoption Agreement, Confidential. Nia's hands shake as she reads. Most of it is standard legal language about guardianship, citizenship, parental rights, but one section stops her cold. Article 7, subsection C. Someone has circled it in red ink, the pen pressed hard enough to bleed through the paper. This adoption shall serve as settlement in full of blood obligation incurred by Party A to Party B, biological parent, details redacted, as compensation for services rendered and debts owed. The child, subject of adoption, represents living fulfillment of contract terms agreed upon in prior negotiation. Ref. Document 4471K, dated 1998. Nia reads it 3 times, each word sinking deeper. Blood obligation. Settlement. Living fulfillment of contract. Daehyun didn't adopt her out of compassion or love or even strategy in the way she understood it. He adopted her because he owed someone. Her biological father, a man she barely remembers, saved Daehyun's life, and the price was Nia herself. She wasn't chosen. She was payment. And someone in Georgia knows. Someone has these documents, understands what they mean, and is using that knowledge to test whether Nia is worth the debt Daehyun paid. Whether she's strong enough to survive what's coming. Whether the investment was sound. Nia sits on the floor, adoption papers spread in front of her, and realizes the gala was never about Madison's cruelty or Nia's humiliation. It was about proving her value in a contract she never knew existed. And that's when Nia understood. Someone in Georgia had learned the truth about her adoption, and they wanted to see if she was worth the price Daehyun paid. What came next wasn't just revenge. It was a test, and Nia had no intention of failing. Nia's door is open, not wide, just enough, maybe 3 inches, that when she reaches the landing on Friday evening, exhaustion pressing against her temples, she notices immediately. The lock isn't broken. No scratches on the handle. Someone used a key, or picked it so cleanly it left no evidence. She pushes the door wider with her foot, staying in the hallway, scanning the interior before stepping inside. Nothing looks disturbed. The furniture sits exactly where she left it. The laptop is closed on her desk. The kitchen is untouched. But the air feels different, violated, like the space itself knows it's been invaded. Then she sees it. On the coffee table, face down, a framed photograph that should be in her bedroom closet, buried in a locked box beneath winter clothes she never wears in Atlanta. Nia crosses the room slowly, heart hammering, and picks up the frame. The glass is still intact, but the metal backing is warm, recently touched, recently moved. She turns it over. The photograph stares back at her across 24 years. 5-year-old Nia stands between two men in front of a house she barely remembers. The one on her left is Seo Dae-hin, younger than, his face not yet lined with the weight of empire building. His hand rests on her shoulder. Firm, possessive, protective. The man on her right is taller, darker skinned, with features that match Nia's own. Her nose, her jawline, her eyes. Her biological father. She doesn't remember his name, doesn't remember his voice, but she remembers the way he looked at her in this photo, like he was saying goodbye. Someone broke into her home, found this image hidden in the one place she thought was safe, and left it here like a calling card. The message isn't subtle. We control your safe spaces. We know who you were before Seo. Nia sets the frame down carefully, hands trembling now, and checks the bedroom. The closet door is closed but not locked. The box is back in place, winter clothes arranged to look undisturbed. Professional, careful. The work of someone who wanted her to know they'd been here without making it look like a crime worth reporting. Her phone buzzes, unknown number. She answers without thinking. Did you bleed? The voice is male, calm, terrifyingly controlled. Familiar in a way that makes her spine straighten instinctively. Junho, she says. Answer the question. Nia closes her eyes. No. Silence stretches between them, not empty, but full of unspoken things. Judgment. Assessment. The kind of silence that decides whether protection continues or gets revoked. Good, Junho finally says. Then it's still your lesson to teach. The line goes dead. Nia stares at her phone, replaying those 8 words. Not I'll handle it. Not you need me. Just confirmation that this is her problem to solve, her test to pass, and he's watching to see if she's strong enough to survive without his intervention. She's 29 years old, and her brother is still deciding whether she's earned the name she carries. The news breaks on Saturday morning. Naya is at her kitchen table, reviewing notes for the audit response, when the alert pops up on her phone. Atlanta nonprofit leader dies in traffic accident. She clicks the headline. Gregory Whitmore, 62, board member for 3 major Atlanta charities, died late Friday night when his car veered off I-85 and struck a concrete barrier. Police are investigating, but suspect driver fatigue. No other vehicles involved. Nia reads the article twice, stomach sinking. Whitmore was on the board for the Atlanta Arts Coalition, the same nonprofit hosting a critical vote next week on whether to renew partnerships with several Buckhead-connected organizations. Madison Klein's family has donor seats on 2 of those partnerships. The vote was supposed to be close, but Whitmore was expected to vote against renewal, which would have weakened Madison's family's influence and sent a signal that the old guard's power was slipping. Now Whitmore is dead, and according to the article's final paragraph, the board has already appointed an interim replacement, Vanessa Klein, Madison's cousin. Naya sets her phone down and stares at the ceiling. This isn't coincidence. This is someone rewriting the board to protect Madison, to ensure Nia's plan, whatever clean legal strategy she was building, gets dismantled before it can land. Someone with enough reach to make a car accident look natural and enough influence to fast-track a replacement appointment. Her clean plan just became a battlefield. Nia spends the rest of the weekend locked in her condo, door bolted, curtains drawn. She's not hiding. She's building. Every receipt she's collected since the gala gets organized into a timeline. Security footage, witness statements, screenshots of Madison's friends coordinating the viral campaign. Financial records showing money flowing from accounts Nia can't fully trace yet, but suspects lead back to the accountant consigliere. Message threads, meeting schedules, the paper trail of a conspiracy built to look like random cruelty. She stops reacting, starts engineering. If the board vote is compromised, she needs a different stage, a bigger audience. A moment where Madison's world can't look away and her allies can't provide cover. Nia pulls up her contact list and starts making calls. By Sunday night, it's arranged. A major Atlanta fundraiser scheduled for the following weekend. Press, donors, politicians who owe her favors she's never collected. The same world that ignored her humiliation at the Buckhead Gala will be in one room. Cameras rolling, nowhere to hide. Madison's entire strategy has been about optics, controlling the narrative, shaping public opinion, using social media like a weapon. Nia is going to give her the spectacle she craves. But this time, Nia controls the script. She reviews her files one last time. Everything Madison said on camera, every message proving premeditation, every connection between Madison and the legal assault on Nia's company. The evidence is airtight, organized like a prosecutor's case file, ready to be presented in the exact sequence that will dismantle Madison's life piece by piece. Nia's hands don't shake anymore. Her breathing stays steady. She's past fear now, past rage. She's in the place Daehyun trained her to reach. Cold, focused, surgical. The night of the fundraiser arrived, and Madison had no idea she was about to lose everything she thought made her untouchable. This is where the invisible sister became unforgettable. The ballroom is everything Atlanta aspires to be. Crystal chandeliers catching light like falling stars, marble floors polished to mirrors, and 500 people dressed in the kind of wealth that doesn't need to announce itself. The Atlanta Economic Development Gala draws donors, politicians, corporate executives, and the press. Everyone who matters. Everyone who shapes the city's future. Nia stands backstage, listening to the MC introduce corporate sponsors. Her dress tonight is different from the one she wore at the Buckhead Gala. Red instead of black, fitted instead of modest, impossible to ignore. She's done being invisible. The stage manager gives her a 5-minute warning. Nia checks her phone one last time. The files are ready. The contacts are in place. Everything she's built over the past 2 weeks. Every receipt, every witness statement, every piece of evidence is loaded onto a drive in her purse and backed up in 3 separate locations. Madison is in the audience. Front row, smiling. The MC's voice carries through the sound system. And now, please welcome Nia Kumalo CO, Operations Director of Meridian Logistics, to announce a major partnership initiative. Nia walks onto the stage. The applause is polite, measured. She reaches the podium, adjusts the microphone, and looks out at the sea of faces. Madison's smile widens. "Thank you for having me," Nia begins, voice steady and clear. Tonight was supposed to be about partnerships, about building trust, about what happens when people work together towards something bigger than themselves. She pauses, lets the words settle. But before we talk about the future, I need to address something that happened 2 weeks ago. The room shifts. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Madison's smile falters. "Some of you saw a video," Chori, Nia continues. "A clip that went viral. A moment at a charity gala where I was publicly humiliated, slapped, spit on, and told to remember my place." The ballroom goes silent now. Cameras that were casually recording the event suddenly focus with intent. "What you didn't see," Nia says, "was what happened before, what was planned, what was orchestrated." She nods toward the production booth. A screen descends behind her, 40 feet wide, impossible to miss. The footage begins, not the edited clip that went viral, the full security recording from the Buckhead Gala. Time-stamped, uncut. It shows Madison conferring with her friends 30 minutes before the confrontation, phones out, discussing angles. Audio is faint, but enhanced subtitles appear. "Make sure you get her face. We need her to react. This has to look authentic." The ballroom watches in horrified silence. The video cuts to the slap, the spit, Nia's calm response. Then it jumps forward. Madison and her friends celebrating, replaying the clip, laughing like it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. Nia lets the footage speak for itself. When it ends, she turns back to the audience. "Tonight, we're also honoring accountability," she says, "because Madison Klein didn't humiliate me on impulse. She planned it, filmed it, weaponized it, and she did it because someone paid her to." Madison shoots to her feet. "That's a lie." Every camera in the room swings toward her. "Is it?" Nia's voice stays calm. "Then explain the wire transfer from Castellan and Reed LLP to your personal account 3 days before the gala. $15,000. Marked as consultation fees for a legal matter you've never had." Madison's face drains of color. Her attorney stands, trying to intervene, but the damage is spreading too fast. Nia advances to the next slide. Bank records, donor logs, message threads showing Madison coordinating with people she claimed not to know. You want to talk about lies? Madison's voice cracks, desperation bleeding through. You want to talk about truth? Let's talk about who you really are. Let's talk about your brother. Careful, Naya says quietly. Madison doesn't stop. She's panicking now, grasping for any weapon. You think you're untouchable because of him? Because So Junho. The name lands like a grenade. Half the room doesn't recognize it. The other half goes rigid. Is the kind of man the FBI would love to parade in front of cameras. Madison continues, voice rising. I have federal friends. Real protection, you're nothing but. Your federal friend, Nia interrupts, voice cutting through Madison's spiral, is Assistant Director Trevor Langford. And he's currently under investigation by Internal Affairs for accepting bribes and mishandling evidence in 3 separate cases. The room erupts in whispers. Naya advances the slide again. Official documents, department memos, email chains showing Langford receiving payments through charity accounts Madison controlled. You weren't protecting yourself, Naya says. You were laundering money for someone else's operation, someone who wanted to use you to get to me, to bait my family into revealing themselves, to create legal pretext for an investigation that would justify federal action. Madison's attorney grabs her arm, trying to pull her toward the exit, but Madison wrenches free. She's crying now, mascara running, hands shaking. It was just supposed to be one moment, she sobs. Just one video. They said you'd react, and we'd have proof, and it would be over. I didn't know it would. Naya steps down from the stage, walks toward Madison slowly, deliberately, until she's close enough that Madison can smell her perfume and see the absolute absence of mercy in her eyes. The ballroom holds its breath. Madison's voice drops to a whisper. Please, it was just a moment. Be the bigger person. Naya studies her for a long second. Then she reaches out, tilts Madison's chin up gently, almost tenderly, forcing her to face the cameras, the witnesses, the world that's watching. No, Nia says softly. Then she spits. The moment stretches, impossibly long. The spit arcs through the air in what feels like slow motion, catching the light from the chandeliers overhead, every camera capturing the trajectory. It lands on Madison's cheek, just below her eye. The crowd freezes. Champagne glasses stop halfway to lips. Conversations suspend mid-word. Camera flashes trap the scene in silence. 500 people witnessing something they can't unsee. Then sound rushes back like a wave breaking. Gasps, murmurs, the scrape of chairs as people stand, trying to get a better view or distance themselves from what just happened. Nia's voice cuts through it all, steady and cold. Now you know what it feels like when someone decides you're less than human. Madison crumples, hands covering her face, shoulders shaking with sobs that echo across marble floors. Nia turns away, returns to the podium, picks up a folder she left there, thick, meticulously organized, tabs color-coded. Everything I've shown you tonight is documented here, she says, addressing the room again. Financial records, donor communications, evidence of coordinated provocation designed to trigger a federal investigation into my family's business operations. I'm providing copies to the district attorney's office, the FBI's public corruption unit, and every major journalist in this room. She makes eye contact with a reporter in the third row, then another. Then a woman she recognizes from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. You all ignored what happened to me at that gala, Nia says. You looked away because it was easier, because Madison had the right last name and I didn't. But you can't look away now. Security moves toward Madison, who's still on the floor, still crying. Her attorney is on his phone, already trying to do damage control that won't work. Nia hands the folder to a woman in a federal prosecutor's jacket, someone she called specifically for this moment. Then she walks off stage, past the cameras, past the stunned crowd, past the wreckage of Madison Klein's entire world. She doesn't look back. Behind her, chaos erupts. Reporters shouting questions, donors fleeing, Madison being escorted out by security while photographers capture every angle. But Nia is already gone. 3 days later, the news breaks in waves. Madison Klein removed from 6 nonprofit boards. Under investigation for money laundering and conspiracy. Her family's donor seats revoked. Her social media accounts deleted. Her name, once a symbol of Buckhead privilege, now synonymous with public disgrace. Assistant Director Langford suspended pending investigation. 3 other officials implicated in the scheme. Federal task force launched to investigate corruption in Atlanta's charity sector. And Nia becomes the woman who proved power doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes it just needs to be precise. Madison was removed from every board, indicted for financial crimes, and publicly shunned by the same people who once protected her. But Nia's victory came with a cost, because revenge, no matter how perfect, always leaves a mark. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution runs the story on Sunday morning. Buckhead socialite indicted on money laundering charges. By Monday, Madison Klein's face is everywhere. Not the carefully curated Instagram version, but the courtroom photo where her eyes are red and hollow. Her perfect facade stripped away by federal charges and public humiliation. The boards remove her quietly. 6 resignations announced in press releases that avoid her name, but everyone knows who they mean. Her donor seats. The currency she valued most, the access that made her untouchable, evaporate overnight. The same people who laughed with her at that Buckhead penthouse now cross the street to avoid being photographed near her. Poetic justice delivered in the exact language Madison understands. Reputation, access, control. All gone. But Nia knows better than to celebrate publicly. Victories like this don't come free. The CO gathering happens on Tuesday night in a private room at a restaurant that doesn't advertise and doesn't take reservations unless you already know to call. 12 people sit around a table that's seen decisions made and problems solved in ways the law would never approve. Nia arrives last. Every face turns toward her when she enters, some with respect, others with something colder. Fear, maybe, or calculation. Junho sits at the head of the table, posture relaxed in the way apex predators are relaxed, confident, unhurried, dangerous. He doesn't stand when Nia takes her seat, doesn't smile, just watches her with eyes that measure everything and reveal nothing. The accountant consigliere sits 3 seats down, the quiet man who moves money and buries secrets. He's the one Nia suspects fed Madison the adoption details. He's the one who benefits if Nia looks weak. His expression gives away nothing, but his hands rest too carefully on the table, controlled, deliberate, guilty. The Atlanta situation is resolved, Junho says to the room, but his eyes stay on Nia. My sister handled it. The words land like stones dropped in still water. My sister, not Nia, not our operations director, sister, spoken aloud. In front of witnesses who understand exactly what that acknowledgement means: protection, legitimacy, power transferred through blood and choice. The room shifts. Some nod, others stay frozen, recalculating alliances and hierarchies. But Nia hears the other message buried beneath the words, the warning only she's meant to catch. Visibility is dangerous. The invisible sister just became visible, and in their world, that invites challenges, tests, threats from people who need to see if the acknowledgement is real or ceremonial. After the meeting, Junho pulls her aside. The hallway is empty, sterile, the kind of space where truths get spoken that can never be repeated. The gala, he says quietly. I let it happen. Nia's chest tightens, but she doesn't flinch. Someone inside requested it, Junho continues. Wanted to see if you'd break. Wanted proof you were a liability before the expansion moved forward. I needed to know what kind of power you'd choose when it mattered. And? Nia's voice is steady despite the betrayal burning in her throat. Junho studies her for a long moment. You chose the kind that lasts. Calculated. Surgical. No explosions. No federal attention. Just consequences delivered so precisely no one can call it revenge, only justice. He steps closer, voice dropping to something almost gentle. Almost proud. Daehyun was right about you. Then he walks away, leaving Nia alone in the hallway with the truth. Her own brother used her humiliation as a test, and she passed by, destroying Madison so completely, there's no path back. That night, Nia stands on her condo balcony 20 stories above Atlanta. The city glitters below, Peachtree lights stretching toward the horizon, the skyline indifferent to everything that happened in boardrooms and ballrooms and private gatherings where power changes hands without announcements. Madison's world burned. Nia's survived. She's still wearing the red dress from the gala, though she's showered and the champagne residue is long gone. Some stains don't wash out. Some victories cost more than they appear in the moment. Her phone buzzes with messages, allies congratulating her, contacts asking favors, people who ignored her 2 weeks ago suddenly remembering her name. She silences them all. The invisible sister became visible, and now she'll spend the rest of her life managing what that visibility attracts. Nia learned something that night. Revenge doesn't erase humiliation. It just proves you're willing to pay the price to make sure it never happens again. And she'll pay it every single day. in rooms that watch her differently now, in tests she didn't ask for but will have to pass, in the constant calculation of whether she's worth the name she carries and the power she's claimed. The city glitters. Indifferent? Beautiful. Unforgiving. Naya closes her eyes and breathes the June night air, thick, humid, carrying the sound of traffic and life continuing below, unstoppable and relentless. She's ready. I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel. I put a lot of effort into this, and it honestly hurts when people watch and don't subscribe. Thank you for your support.